No need for no intro today. No need for no intro at all. Man, yeah, buddy. That's one of them games where you look back at it and you're just like, you had an opportunity to show up in Memphis to make another statement, to tell the NBA that we are not only 6 games better than everybody, but that even when the game ain't going well, you start off the game down 8 when Jokic comes out 28-20, but you have an opportunity to come back and pick it up to put you really to make another statement and let the NBA know, let the Western Conference know that no matter what you do, you're not going to get a game off of us, even on the road. And tonight, that was not the case at all. The Denver Nuggets get blasted. The Nuggets get blasted. I'm talking about one of the worst performances of the year. The Nuggets, they lose 112-94. And y'all, it was so bad that the Denver Nuggets had 73 points. 73 points in the game when there were 6 minutes and 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter. 73 points in the game, but 6 minutes and 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter. It was atrocious by all parties tonight. Some deserve more blame than others. If you're a narrative person, this is the perfect narrative game for you. If you think the Nuggets are fraudulent or whatever else it is, but honestly, I don't want to address that stuff because I think for me, it's like I've had this channel so long that I remember when they got blown up by 30 before the trade deadline in 2021. I remember when they started this season off, got blown up by 26, I believe, to the Boston Celtics on the road. I remember watching them give up leads, watching them not show up versus the Orlando Magic and lose on the road as well. They got some really bad losses over the last 3 seasons. But this is another one of those games where the Nuggets had the energy of a team that just expected that it was going to dominate and it was just going to absolutely blow out the competition and that they weren't going to show up. They started the game off really funky decision-making. I'm talking about just trying to pass the ball with contested lanes, the shots sharp. It was just nonsense, man. Like, they weren't hitting anything either. Y'all, for tonight's game, again, the best shooting team in the NBA, they shot 40% from the field on 36 of 89. I think that might be their second worst shooting performance of the year, maybe their first. I got to go look it up. They shot 30% from 3, but y'all, don't let that fool you because I got the numbers right here. At the half, the Nuggets were down 66-42. They shot 38% from the field, 19% from the 3. The Memphis Grizzlies has shot 56% from the field and 43% from 3. The Nuggets had 11 turnovers at half. The Grizzlies had 2 turnovers. Nuggets had 8 assists to the Grizzlies' 15 assists. It was an abysmal game. Now, shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies. They lost to the 76ers. They've had a really bad record the last 15 or so games. They started off the season really well, started creating without obviously having Steven Adams in the lineup. And then, again, they lose a really critical game 2 days ago. And they come out today. They know they're down 6. They're back 6 games to the Denver Nuggets for the first seed. They have an opportunity to win on their home court, to get a bounce-back win, and even for them, in their eyes, to make a statement. And they have an opportunity to get a game on a 6-game hold the Nuggets had on the conference. And they did all those things tonight. Across the board, they were just a better basketball team. They out-hustled the Nuggets. They had 25 assists to the Nuggets 22, only 12 turnovers to the Nuggets 15, 50 rebounds to the Nuggets 48. They had 10 steals to the Nuggets 4. They did everything what they were supposed to do. So shout out to them. Ja Morant had 23 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds and 4 assists on 9 of 18, 1 of 4. He was in 24 minutes. In 25 minutes, Xavier Tillman was a plus 25 at 12, 7, and 4. In 25 minutes, Desmond Bane at 10, 5, and 4, plus 8. Dylan Brooks, 24 minutes, 12, 3, and 1. He was a plus 19. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. had 7 and 3 in 21 minutes. He was a plus 14. And then in the bench, Luke Kennard, a plus 21. Aldama, plus 14. Tyus Jones, plus 9. Brandon Clark, plus 3. Conchar, plus 8. It was just all around. Nobody won minutes tonight for the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic tonight had 15, 13, and 3 on 7 of 11, a minus 20. Caldwell Pope, 11, 1, and 1, a minus 20. Jamal Murray, 8, 3, and 4, minus 13. And again, 3 of 13 again from Jamal. Another bad shooting game from Jamal, back-to-back game. Michael Porter, 5, 3, and 1 on 2 of 10. Bad shooting, minus 9. Vlatko Chanchar, 2-2-1, -9. The bench unit, Bruce Brown, -19. Jeff Green, -19. Reggie Jackson, -15. Now, let me tell you one of the big issues. Now, the first quarter was bad. The Denver Nuggets lost it 20-28, I believe, was the end of the first quarter. But I'll tell you what one of the big issues was. The Denver Nuggets were down by 8. And then what happens is Jokic comes out. The Nuggets, when they go to an all-bench lineup, they don't score a point, basically. The score goes from 28-20 to 46-28. To 40, I think it was 48-28. It was 20-28, then it was 48-28 by the time Jokic comes back in the game. The bench, again, I've said this before, that they are going to have to take time to figure out how to play as a unit. And so I think my biggest issue is that while they're trying to figure that out, they have to have some kind of identity, because it can't be that you're going to have that much of a deficit and that much of a loss. And so when they go out, the starters don't play their best quarter and they score 20 points and they're down 8. That's one thing. But then they come back in the game, they're down 20. And based on how the game had gone, there was just no momentum for anybody to capture. And I've already stated that the starters didn't play well. So I think one of the things that's most frustrating about all this is Jokic didn't play a good game. Murray didn't play a good game. Porter didn't play a good game. KTP didn't play a good game. But I think in the early onset, Jokic was trying to do all this creation. And, there's some interesting takes about Joker and this efficiency thing he's doing this year. And I think, this is the second time in the last 3 weeks, basically, he's got a 76ers game as well, where Joker was playing against a really good team. And he was playmaking heavy, and the playmaking wasn't leading to the same results as the rest of the game. And so what I think is happening is people are getting confused. I do not think, and I think it's even ridiculous not answering this question, I don't think that Jokic is trying to look for efficiency for the sake of just looking for efficiency. Jokic has been making the right plays for this team in the regular season, and the regular season wins are accumulating because they're playing the right kind of basketball. So what's interesting today is that Joker was in that same mindset of Xavier Tillman playing heavy, Jerry Jackson Jr. is in weak side help. So what he did was he started trying to do a lot of this passing off and dump passes and passing out the three-pointer, but the Denver Nuggets were 1 of 9 from 3 to start the game. And the Nuggets were up. Man, I want to say they were up like 2 or 3 or 1. And then the Grizzlies went on basically like a 12-0 run. And then from there, it's just like catch up the rest of the game because they couldn't hit any shots. But just overall, they lacked intensity. They lacked the intensity of a team that was trying to win a game. And they didn't commit to the process. They were forcing errant passes through multiple hands on offense when they were trying to get entry passes. Jeff Green, Murray, I think KCP might have had one. Just bad, all around bad. And really, again, from the onset of the game, what was funny, the Grizzlies actually weren't even playing super well. The Nuggets were playing bad, and then they kind of just kept playing bad. The Grizzlies were having a lot of turnovers to start. The Nuggets had turnovers to start, missing a lot of shots. The Nuggets were getting beat on the glass. They were giving up second chance opportunities. And then from there, it just kept snowballing. And I think what's interesting about this is we have all seen Jokic take over games as a scorer, but in the last 2 losses that we can think about, Jokic has done this thing where the 76ers and the Memphis loss, where that score you want him to turn into, like going after the volume, it doesn't happen right away. And so one of the criticisms that I'm even seeing online right now is that, well, Jokic is hunting efficiency. And I just think that's a mindset thing. And I think it's crazy to suggest that he can't or won't do it, given that he has done it this year. And he's done it, obviously, in the playoffs. But I think it's just right now, there's a specific kind of basketball that they've been playing that's been equating to wins. And even the other night versus Cleveland, Jamal Murray's leading the team in shots, I think, right now in the season. So it's been a continual thing. But it just wasn't a good game. It just wasn't a good game. The Grizzlies, they earned their victory tonight, and I think that should just be the story. There shouldn't be any excuses made. The Denver Nuggets didn't play good enough basketball. And so I really want to try to stay on the basketball and stay out of the narrative because there's enough basketball takeaways tonight on the fact that the execution was just so poor. They weren't playing good defense. They were not rotating well. And I don't know, Joker mentioned that he wishes he had those 4 days off instead of doing the All-Star game and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if that has anything to do with his overall rhythm and especially the defense the last 2 games, but that just hasn't been there. It's been a little disconnected on that end. But again, they only gave up 109 points, and it wasn't as stiff like they played bad, but it wasn't like we haven't seen Jokic since he came back from All-Star yet dominate a game. And I would say that he played very well. He obviously, had a triple-double. He cooked Jared Allen, cooked Evan Mobley. But some of this is the Nuggets haven't yet, put on, the gas. And you can kind of tell that with Jamal, the back-to-back games now, he hasn't played well, I don't think. Personally, 16-9 today, shoots 3 of 13, didn't shoot well the other game. Jokic didn't play particularly well today. And then Porter, he basically goes from 25 and 6 on 6 of 10 from 3 versus Cleveland today, where it's just a weird game. I need to go back and rewatch it because when the game first started, it was as if you could kind of tell it might have been a little bit of a dogfight, a low scoring affair, and the Nuggets were going to have to be willing to lock in. When are you going to lock in? So when the Nuggets are down 8, I'm like, all right, bet. Well, they've been down 8 a couple of times recently. They've been down even close to 10 or 12 a couple of times recently, and they come back and win the game. So at what point in time, because it's so early in the first quarter and in the second quarter, that you're like, all right, bet they're going to be able to turn it on, turn it back up, and get it going. And then literally it just kept falling apart. And I honestly think a part of this is just the bench. They don't yet have an identity with Reggie Jackson and Thomas Bryant and Christian Brown, Bruce Brown, and Jeff Green. There's just no cohesiveness. There's they're not even diving to the basket and trying to get alley-oops. And there's not a lot of cutting and stuff that's happening. It's just weird. The process just simply is not there. And again, if you're going to have that bench, then you need to be able to lock in defensively. That's my thing. I would rather the Denver Nuggets play a lineup where you're playing Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Zeke Naji, Vlako Chanchar, and, if you want to stagger KCP or something, or even if you want to stagger Aaron Gordon, I'd much rather you do that and be leaned in defensively, and then you can't score at a high volume. But again, some of this is there's not enough time with the team yet. So that's why I'm not as worried about it right now, because they have 21 games remaining in the season to figure a lot of that stuff out. But the identity is just simply not there. And so the Nuggets, like I said, they lose by 18. They were down 34 at one point in time in this game. And it was just a poor execution all around. They just couldn't get it done in the first half, even in that second stint for the starters. And then also, like I said, in the third quarter. Jokic played 27 minutes, Caldwell 27, Murray 25, Porter and Vlako 19. And just minus 20, minus 20, minus 13, minus 9, minus 9. I mean, again, this is like I said, outside of the 76ers game, I can't even remember a game that they've had in the last 30 where they have had a across-the-board minus from the starters. And even that 76ers game, I think MPJ might have been in the plus still. But it was just a bad game. But I don't really have much of a takeaway from this other than they didn't show up. Because I think if you're going to say that, they're 34 points worse than the Grizzlies, and I'm like, well, they beat the Grizzlies to start off this run in December when they started winning all these games, 105-91. Then they've beaten really good teams since then. They just beat the Cavaliers. So what exactly happened today? And I think it came down to the execution and overall effort. It wasn't there. And that's what happens when you play good teams. If you don't have effort, if you don't commit to the process, you don't do what you're supposed to do, you get blown out. And it was an F game from Jokic, an F game from Murray, an F game from Porter, an F game from Caldwell Pope, and an F game from Vlako, and an F game from the bench. And if you want to blame Michael Malone because of the rotation, even though I said that they were going to have these rotations because they're going to figure the bench out, this is going to continue to happen. So if you have a F on Michael Malone, then no issue at all. But this is just literally a bad game. It's a horrific performance across the board. But like I said, if you're saying that the Denver Nuggets scored 73 points with 6 minutes and 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, they just didn't have it. It's just that simple. because this team, if anything, they're going to lose games, 115 to 130. Like that's typically like when the Nuggets are just playing a bad defensive game, they're still scoring at a high level. But this also, like I said, just likens it to what happened with the Celtics game to start the year, where they just got outplayed. And Dylan Brooks, what I think the thing is too, the Tillman, Brooks, like they had a lot of ancillary pieces that were playing well offensively too. So like there was just a conglomeration of different events that led to what happened tonight. But they play tomorrow versus the Clippers. And what's funny was I didn't think they were going to play the starters in that game because I thought if they got a chance to win today, they'd be up 7 games and they would come back tomorrow versus the Clippers. Basically, like, say, hey, even if it's a home game, we're not going to have the players play all these amount of minutes. But now you kind of have to. And the reason you have to is you kind of got to be able to not just get a bad taste out of your mouth, but you need to discover a process. Like you need to get an identity formed. Because, again, you didn't get one versus Cleveland, and the bench didn't play well. And then Jamal hasn't played well since the All-Star break came back. Jokic gave you a B- game, then gave you an F game, and then now you need to you just need to get the momentum. And the Clippers are trying to roll, and they just lost to the Kings. So they got a point to make. So, again, I think if for narrative purposes, it's not great. The Denver Nuggets are they are at 42-19 on the season now. They're 5 games ahead of the Clippers for second seed and 7 games ahead of the Kings. So, yeah, thankfully you've taken care of business on the season where this doesn't affect anything. Like this game means nothing because you got another game coming up, I think on March 3rd versus the Grizzlies. But it's not good for the sake of the feeling of the team. But I like to remind people the Nuggets just reeled off 4 wins versus the Heat, the Mavericks, and the Cavaliers, and also the Hornets. And I believe they were 7-9 in their last game. So they are currently 7-10 and they're 7-3 in their last 10. 7-3 in their last 10, 8-3 in their last 11. So, I understand that it's not a good loss. You don't want to see that. They lost to the Magic 115-104. They lost to the Timberwolves with nobody in the game, obviously, 128-98. They lost to the 76ers 126-19. No Jokic against the Bucks, lost 107-99. And they lost to the Thunder 101-99. And I can't even remember who played in that game. Yeah, Jokic did not play in that game. That's right. So, again, not what you want to see. It wasn't a great game at all. Bad loss, but shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies for getting the win. And you know what? We got to come back show up against LA Clippers tomorrow, y'all. Don't know what time it is, y'all. But look, we will be right back tomorrow.